She didn't expect silence to hurt this much. Not his. Not the kind that doesn't slam doors or leave cold messages. That simply stops. No explanations, no anger, just absence. And for a while, she told herself it was fine. That he was just another person who left quietly, that she didn't really need him anyway. But then the noise faded. The distractions quieted. The messages stopped. The space stayed empty. And thoughts when it hit her, he wasn't coming back. And his silence wasn't waiting for hers to break. Part 1. At first, Part 1 felt like freedom. The first few days felt easy. She stretched into the space he left behind like it was a room finally her own again. No more check-ins, no more careful responses, no more needing to explain her moods. She told herself it was better this way. She needed the distance, needed to breathe. But something strange happened around day 5. She picked up her phone just to scroll through their old messages. Not to text him, just to remember how he said it. When he used toast, how she slept. There was one message from 3 weeks ago. I hope your presentation went well today. She'd been stressed about it all week, and her remembered. She'd given him a quick thanks back then. Now she wished she'd said more. Another. One from a month before. All this reminded me of you with a photo of a bookstore window. She'd looked at it briefly and moved on. Nash realized he'd been walking somewhere, seen something, and thought of her. How many little moments like that had she brushed past? She smiled at old conversations, then felt her chest tighten, then catharsis feeling something she hadn't planned. On Longing Part 2, the Part 2 absence that doesn't announce itself. It wasn't that he vanished. He was still in line, still liked a few things, still looked the same. But he no longer reached out, no longer checked in. She noticed quietly, privately, without telling anyone. She opened their chat, stared at the blank space where his name is to light up, typed a few words, deleted them, checked again a few hours later, still nothing. And that's when she realized he wasn't being silent to punish her. He was just done trying. And that hurt more than any angry good beaver could. Part 3. What silence Part 3 does that words never can. With every day of silence, she heard things she'll never notice before. Not from him, from herself. She replayed the moments she thought she was being strong for pulling back, confident for not needing him. Now they felt different. Now they felt like avoidance, like fear dressed as independence. She started remembering things she brushed off before. The way he looked at her when she shut down conversations, not with frustration or hurt. Just with this quiet acceptance that said, I'll be here when you're ready. The patience in his eyes when she gave short answers to his questions. How he never pushed or preyed. How he seemed to understand that sometimes she needed space to process more. She could share. The way he gave her space without judgment. Like the time she canceled their plans last minute because she felt overwhelmed. He just said, take care of yourself. Let me know when you want Tora should do. No guilt trippets, no questions about what was really wrong. Thought that meant he didn't care Inoto. Fight for her time. Now she wondered if it meant he cared enough to let her have what she needed. And the way Shamis took that space as distance, not realizing it was his way of respecting her boundaries. There was something else she remembered now. The way he never tried to change her moods. If she was quiet, he was comfortable with quiet. If she was stressed, he didn't try to fix it. He just stayed steady beside her. She'd interpreted that as indifference. But maybe it was something else entirely. Maybe it was the kind of love that doesn't need you to be different to be worthy of it. Till his silence wasn't just respect anymore. It was departure taught Part 4. Looking for his echo. Shaded message. Him, but she started searching. Not stalking, just noticing. Clicking on his profile to see a funny thing had changed. Watching the few stories he posted, looking for clues about how he was doing. Scrolling back through moments she didn't value at that time. She found herself analyzing things that probably meant nothing. The musician shared on his story. Was it a bother? The photo of his coffee. Was he a fair old place? The picture with friends. Did he look happier with her? She started noticing what he'd stopped doing. He didn't check herstories anymore. She knew because she'd started watching who viewed them. His name used to be there within hours. Now it never appeared. Didn't like her poos. Even the ones she posted that she thought might make him smile. Even Theon's that she secretly hoped would remind him of something good between them. Didn't show. Up in the shadows like people usually do when they're still hoping. No accidental likes on old photos. No views of her LinkedIn profile. No traces of digital wandering back to her. He wasn't playing the game. He wasn't waiting. He wasn't hoping for signs that she missed him too. And that's what made it hurt the most. Because for the first time, his silence didn't mean indecision. It meant peace. And peace is terrifying when all you've ever known is uncertainty, she realized. She'd gotten used to the push and pull. The maybe yes, maybe no dens that kept her heart racing. Then certainty that made her feel like she was in control. But his peace was something she couldn't touch, couldn't influence, couldn't break through with the right text or a perfect post. His peace was complete without her. And that was the hardest truth of all. Part 5. When Silence Part 5 breaks you gently. She cried one night. Not because he yelled, not because hello dramatically, but because hadn't. He just stopped holding. On nor assistance, no reminders, nor retaliation, just silence. And in that silence, she felt everything she hadn't let herself feel before. Not about him, about herself. How often she sabotaged good things before they could disappoint her. How often she pulled away from thievery stability she claimed to want. And how his calm wasn't coldness. It was just who he was. She realized he didn't abandon her. He just stopped fighting for space. She kept asking him to step out. Of Part 6, the pain she never saw Part 6 coming. What hurt the most wasn't thought stopped reaching out. It was that she no longer had anything to push against. No reaction, no energy. No one on the other side of the wall she built. Just Selene's. And in that silence, she met version of herself she'd been hiding from. The person who always needed Ariason to run. Who needed proof that people would eventually leave anyway. Who kept others close. Just long enough to miss them. But never long enough to risk being truly seen. She saw clearly now. It's how she'd always found fault. Right when things got comfortable. How she'd create distance right when Simone got close. How she'd test loyalty right when someone was trying to over her. Not because she didn't want love, but because love felt dangerous. Because being chosen felt impossible. Because staying felt scarier than weaving. And now she was alone, not abandoned, not betrayed. Just that faced with the echo of her own patterns, she thought about calling her sister Tatak about it. But what would she say? I pushed away someone good because I was scared of being happy. I'm sad about losing something I wasn't even sure I wanted. She thought of Boo texting her best friend, but she already knew what she'd say. If he really cared, he would have fought harder. You deserve a Zamin who won't give up on you. And those words would feel good to hear. They'd make her feel justified, validated, right? But deep down, Shek knew the truth was more complicated than thought. And maybe he was hurting, too. Maybe his silence wasn't strength. Mabite was the only way he knew how to heal. Maybe letting go wasn't giving up on her. Maybe it was giving up on trying to convince someone who seemed determined not to be convinced. Maybe they both needed to learn how to love themselves first before they could love anyone else without fear. Before they could receive love without running. Before they could trust that being chosen doesn't have Tommy in being trapped. If you ever felt the part out route of silence after someone leaves, you should know this. She didn't expect it to hurt. Not like this, not in waves, not in stillness, but it did. Because Alliance doesn't just leave space, it leaves you alone with everything you've been avoiding. And sometimes that's what Tite takes to finally face the truth. Some people choose peace over persistence. Some people choose healing over hoping. Some people choose themselves even when it hurts to let go. And maybe that's not about power. Maybe that's just about knowing when to stop. The silence might feel like an ending. But sometimes it's the beginning of learning how to bew hole on your own. And if you want to understand why some people pull away, even when part of them wants to stay, watch this next. Because Asamides, the deepest fear isn't being unloved. It's being seen completely and still being chosen. And add vulnerability. That's the hardest thing of